Hello everyone
Wait.
and welcome to another VBL analysis, but this is an Eviolite focus special, so we're going to look at Eviolite as an item and how you can consider using it in draft with the context of this latest VBL draft season. And you can see this very tasteful thumbnail that we have presented here. Say hello to the main man, Mono Mallard.
Hi. Hello.
They are in fact a duck.
There's a difference.
I'm pretty sure a mallard is a type of duck.
Actually, yeah, I think it is, but I just find it funny.
I'm pretty sure mallard just means a wild duck. So yeah, no. If there's a difference, it's what he's trying to make. What our main man, Mono Mallard, is trying to make clear is that he's not just a duck; he's a wild duck. So I picked my co-host here today because he's a little bit of a trickster, a little bit of a memer, likes to bring what some would call unorthodox prep, and really just kind of go ham with it. And I really think that is the kind of perspective that it helps to take when one is looking at NFEs and how you can use them, because it can be difficult to justify bringing them into a potential set of 6 Pokemon that you will use, and unless you have a clear concept in mind for what you expect them to pull off. And you I think last season, didn't you have like 3 or 4 NFEs on your draft?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of them saw play as well. In Value Town, for viewers who watch that, or take the chance to watch that, Mallard certainly had a number of Pokemon that popped up from now and then, and was often the only one of the 2 coaches who drafted them who actually used them. So definitely, I think the right person to have for today. And also we have Joshua crying tears of Eviolite, because I don't know why it looks vaguely teardrop shaped, but it is. How generally, now we'll get into specifics of the types of roles and archetypes that we think Eviolite mons tend to play, but generally speaking, what draws you to drafting an NFE?
Me personally?
Yeah,
I think an NFE, I'd personally draft one if it has like the 2 things actually. First of all, in draft, the surprise factor.
Yeah, the surprise factor is definitely really nice, because a lot of people aren't as familiar with them. Sometimes they'll do different things to what their fully evolved counterparts might do. Often they'll live hits that their fully evolved counterparts might not. And what's the other factor?
The other factor is that a lot of the NFEs that I personally find good is that a lot of them have support moves. I personally don't want to draft an NFE that doesn't have at least a speed control move or snarl. I think the utility mainly, because most NFEs, you're either drafting them for it's Clefairy for the follow me and stuff, or it's like
redirection's a big reason. Disruption is a big reason.
It's like Pikachu, Haunter, and now Bisharp.
Yeah. So I mean, would you? So you're saying you don't like drafting them without support moves? Obviously, technically, Pikachu does get Electro Web and Haunter does get Icy Wind, but you wouldn't draft them because they're not really for clicking Icy Wind; they're for clicking offense. Is that what you're saying? Am I understanding that correctly?
I guess so, but mainly the point that I was trying to go with there is that
you don't tend to run Eviolite on them.
I'm not drafting an NFE if it doesn't have if it's just an attacker, because for example, if I'm drafting Pikachu and didn't have Nuzzle and stuff and Fake Out, why would I draft Pikachu? I could just draft a different electric type.
Yeah, but you draft Pikachu because despite being an NFE, it gets access to Light Ball, which makes it ridiculously strong. Right?
And besides the Light Ball, you get Fake Out, Nuzzle if you're not gonna run.
Depending on format, you get Follow Me.
Yeah, Follow Me's big too.
Follow Me is a big deal. Also, Lightning Rod's really nice. But so
I mean,
say you had just for context, say you had a Psychic Terrain team. Would you then not draft Pikachu because you don't want Fake Out, or would you still consider drafting him if it seemed reasonably priced to you.
I would draft Pikachu if it was reasonably priced, yes. Because sometimes, like, even if it's like a Psychic Turn team, sometimes you might want to click Fake Out. Because you're not always bringing that in this situation.
You wouldn't want to bring Pikachu just for its offense?
Yes, still won't bring Pikachu just for its offense. Because, again, it's like Nuzzle, Electroweb stuff.
Yeah, it does get those options, but it is also pretty strong. So I think it's interesting to have two coaches. A lot of what I like to consider when I take an NFE is basically every Pokemon has some support move. The question is, what can it do while clicking support moves? That's one of the big things I want to consider. So I've grouped these into 3 main categories. Now, these categories are all kind of in between, and Pokemon fit into both sides, or potentially all 3 of them, often depending on how you EV them, depending on what moves you run on them, and depending on what sort of team composition that they're on. So I want to break down into what I consider to be the first big, very impactful category. This is something that you want to consider if you want to flesh out your team in a very specific way, or that you want to, this is something that you have to take note of if you're running into them on the opposing team. So this is the defensive Eviolite users. I've put down below the Poppin calculator effective bulk of all 6 of these Pokemon in descending order. Chansey is the bulkiest Pokemon in the game. Sliggoo and Vigoroth are both in the top 30 bulkiest Pokemon in the game. The other Pokemon, I think Mareanie is technically average bulk, Hippopotas is just above average, Naclstack is significantly above average, but what one thing do all these 6 Pokemon have in common, Mr. Mallard?
It's like, I think all of these guys will have recovery for it. For example, Life Dew on Sliggoo.
Yep, Life Dew Sliggoo.
Vigoroth.
Vigoroth and Hippopotas both have Slack Off.
Yeah, and then Chansey Soft-Boiled.
And Naclstack and Mareanie both have access to Recover.
Exactly. And
which means that
it's a Pokemon that wants to have their own recovery. Especially if it's an NFE, you can't just rely on the leftovers anymore.
Yeah, and leftovers obviously have their own issues, but what makes these Pokemon significant is that through access to recovery, they can be very difficult to remove, and one of the things that they all love doing, there's 2 main things they love doing, which is clicking what I call like bullshit moves. So Scald was a big one in previous generations, so obviously that's not around now. Muddy Water is a big one for being able to get accuracy drops. Sing is a big one for getting sleep, and Yawn is another big one for also getting sleep, just slower. So Hippopotas and Vigoroth are big Yawn users. Chansey has Sing. I believe that both Mareanie and Sliggoo have Muddy Water. The Mareanie might not, I'm not sure on that. The other thing a lot of these Pokemon do is they have access to setup, and combining setup with recovery, especially with a Pokemon that your opponent is most likely not going to be focusing down, can mean that towards a late game, one of these defensive Eviolite users can really pose a significant utility to your team, and a significant downside for your opponent's team if they're not factoring it in properly.
Like, example, like, if your team has a Naclstack, most of the time, like 9 times out of 10, I guess 8 times out of 10, they're gonna see the Naclstack and they're gonna be like, I guess I'll target the fully evolved one first. And then the Naclstack starts clicking Iron Defense, starts salt-clearing your team. They'll just take chip every turn, and then in the end game, it's like a Naclstack with recovery, and
absolutely,
just entire team is just like not able to do anything anymore because they're most of the time in the end game they're going to be so low, or most of like your if your opponent like takes out all of your special attackers in time.
Or even with manual Sandstorm or non-manual Sandstorm, like to boost its special defense, or Light Screen to boost its special defense, or even like I think there's a move you can click onto your partner that boosts their special defense. That isn't called Acupressure, but it might just be Acupressure. But anyway, really to scale up Naclstack's defensive survivability on the special side, whether that be, like we said, boosting a special defense manually or removing their special attackers, will mean that it's already basically unkillable on the physical side without like crits from like Meowscarada. So you can really enable that Pokemon to become a potent threat. What's sorry?
Naclstack can just Tera in front of the Meowscarada.
Well, we'll save our conversation on Tera until later. I think Meowscarada would probably still beat a Grass or Fire Tera Naclstack, because it's very strong, and Naclstack, while bulky, is, you know, not the 133 effective defense of Vigoroth. That 111 is okay, but since you often want to invest in special defense, it's not going to be as significant. Whereas Vigoroth has amnesia, so it can reliably boost its special defense up, and then compare that with bulk up, and then run like bulk up, like a Drain Punch, Body Slam, Slack Off. It's got fairly decent. It's actually got an absurd number of moves. Like, it has access to Flamethrower, it has access to Ice Beam, Icy Wind with 90 base speed. You know, Chansey, I believe, also has access to Icy Wind. Sliggoo has access to Icy Wind. So a lot of these Pokemon have access to speed control, which is always...
Vigoroth, just like... In Generation 1, they gave a lot of the normal types, a lot of just like the moves in general.
Do you know what
and
Pokemon
like,
Vigoroth was introduced in?
That's Generation 3, but
yeah.
I'm talking about normal types in general.
Normal types in general have crazy coverage, which is a good thing for Chansey and Vigoroth, because neither of them have particularly like insane special attack stats, but both of them can function like it because they're often going to be clicking a 4x super effective move if they have the opportunity to, because they get so many of them. And Normal is a good type offensively. Kind of. Normal is kind of a good type offensively.
Yeah, because it only has one weakness.
That's defensively. 3 types interact with Normal. Normal has no positive offensive interactions, but rocks are not very good. There are a lot of really bad steals in the format. A lot of them are physical, so bulk up, you can easily get past them with Vigoroth. It also gets access to fighting coverage. And Ghost has a neutral matchup into Normal type. Obviously, you wouldn't want to be running Drain Punch, but access to Dark or Ghost moves. I believe it gets Shadow Claw and I think Throat Chop, but maybe not Throat Chop. I think it does get a Dark move.
It gets Throat Chop. It gets Throat Chop.
You're supposed to be there with like Showdown open, so you can check when I'm saying something wrong. So all of these Pokemon are really potent threats. We forgot to mention your 2 main options with Sliggoo. You can Tera Water into a Water type, which we'll get into more detail later. With Sapsip, but you only have 1 weakness. But the other big thing is Hydration with Rest and Muddy Water spam. So in Rain, which you can set up with Sliggoo, often you want to have like 1 Acid Armor up, so potentially you can be against a team that doesn't have any water immunities and may have mostly water neutralities. If you have an Acid Armor up and then you're spamming Muddy Water in Rain with Rest up, you're going to be incredibly difficult to kill. Like I said, this is one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the format, and Muddy Water evasiveness means that, well, like accuracy drops means that not only are you constantly chipping through their team because they are Rain boosted, but also they're going to have a lot of difficulty even hitting you to force you to make those rests. But PP can be a concern with Muddy Water.
This one isn't super related to the topic of defensive.
Well, did you want to bring that up in the next section, or is it about Sliggoo?
No, it's just like a thing I noticed in general. They removed knockoff from a lot of the Pokemon.
Yeah, look, that's one of the big things about Eviolite right now. A lot of Pokemon don't have access to knockoff. I actually think more do than last gen, but like pre-DLC last gen. But right now, not a lot of knockoff users.
And like a lot of the knockoff users aren't that either are banned because they're like Great Tusk Paradox Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were only like a couple Paradox Pokemon that actually had knockoff.
If they're not banned, they're not going to be running knockoff, because I don't think you should be running knockoff on Gardevoir.
Yeah, I think only one of the ruins got knockoff.
Yeah, Watchien.
Yeah, the Teddy Cat.
Snail. You can't use them.
Yeah, so like that's not legal. Great Tusk isn't legal. Iron Jugulis isn't legal. Iron Treads isn't legal. So it's what? Donphan, the Cyclozar. Cyclozar is a fast support Pokemon. I think it was a bit overpriced in this draft, but like no one picked it up. Meowscarada can knock you off. I think there is a Pissimian that went, which can knock you off. Tinkaton can knock you off, but it's probably got... It's always got difficulties fitting that move onto its moveset. Like Toedscool can knock you off. It is fast. I don't know if it's good. We'll actually be getting to a few NFEs later who have access to knockoff. Sadly, none of the 6 here do. Though it's actually a good thing for them, because that also means their fully evolved versions don't, which they would have to worry about. And Hippopotas we didn't really touch on. Sand is pretty decent right now because you can tear anything to rock. and it's got access to Curse. There are very few good ground types. Earthquake is really spammable in the current format, because a few teams have all of the... What's right?
Like, gets Bulldoze and Yawn, like a lot of other support. If you're running weakness policy without Dynamax, which is weird, but if you are, you can run Bulldoze.
Yeah.
And again, like the recovery from Slack.
What ground weak trick room setters are there?
Checking. Armarouge.
Yeah, Armarouge. You just make sure you're not weak armor.
If you're weak armor,
that'd be a bit disruptive. You can bulldoze with weak armor Armarouge to get +1 and your opponent's -1. There's nothing else. There's literally no other Pokemon, even NFEs. That's crazy. That's actually even like Klefki. Klefki is the other one. But you probably wouldn't do that in Trick Room. You'd probably just do that for like an Iron Defense set. In which case, you're probably better off running a recovery item like Citrus Berry or Leftovers. But yeah,
it's not like you're using Klefki for damage.
Oh, I mean, if you were weakness policy Klefki, you're probably stored power, right?
Yeah.
So Hippopotas has a lot of options. Mareanie has, I think, the least options, but it is a viable toxic user. Chilling Water allows it to shore up its already decent physical defense stat. I think it gets some other move. I've seen...
It gets Pounce.
It gets Wide Guard. That's the big one. That's the big one. Wide Guard is... No, it does... Does it? Yeah, it does get Wide Guard. Wide Guard's a good support move. Yeah. And it can live long game. Like I said, Toxic is good. It's got Pounce for speed control, like you were saying. Chilling Water for thing. Infestation. Infestation is the long game move it has.
Get Haze.
And it can set up stockpiles. Also, if they run Merciless, it can crit poisoned Pokemon.
I don't think you're using Mareanie for damage, but the crits are funny.
They are very funny. And like 53 attack is not unusable, it's just not good.
You're really only running Regenerator and Mareanie though.
I think I remember looking at Scatterbug. No one drafted Scatterbug, but it's got 35 attack and it learns TMs unlike a lot of other early gen bug moves, so it does have Terra Blast. I was thinking it'd be very funny if you Terran Scatterbug to click a super effective move into something and made it die. Mostly just because Spupa has less attack, so I think it's funnier that Scatterbug is not stronger. But tangent aside, these Pokemon are all pretty intimidating to come across. I think Toxapex is... Mareanie is the least, and I think it's intimidating. You have to be very concerned about Sliggoo, very concerned about Vigoroth. Hippopotas, it depends on what their team construct is. Naclstack, just click Taunt. And Chansey, hit a physical move into it, and if you don't hit a physical move into it, you will probably die. On the plus side, it can knock Guard Split off anything good.
If all of your physical attackers are gone against Chansey, you're dead, I think.
What team has, like, not going to have, like, 3 physical attackers in their set of 4 in the current format, you know? The answer is yours, but, you know, beyond that. Okay,
I'm talking
I think we spent a lot of time on the defensive ones, so we should probably move on to the second section, because the other 2 sections have more Pokemon. So the next one is kind of the middle ground, which is support Pokemon, and I think they broadly categorize into 2 slots, though, as Mono was pointing out to me before, there are definitely Pokemon that kind of branch across the 2, but this is more a visual guide. So there's Team Know You, which is focused around stopping your opponent from making impactful decisions, and Team It Me, which is focused around making your decisions more impactful. So the big thing that Team Know You provides is you have this box of 5 here that will have access to Fake Out. You have the most hardcore one, which has access to Shadow Tag, which makes it difficult for your opponent to switch. So it denies them a number of decisions, and actually makes their decision of switching in whatever turn you have there more impactful, but it's a very high degree of disruption. Dual screens from Morgrem and Impidimp, that's pretty good. And then Sing and... What was the other move we said was good on Jigglypuff?
There's a lot of other good moves.
There was Perish Song, but like the one that was more supportive.
Check. Let me check. Check. Icy Wind, Taunt, I think.
Icy Wind. Yeah. So Taunt. I believe actually, all 6 of the Pokemon in the Team No You section have Taunt.
I'm checking that right now, and I think that's true. No, yeah, yeah, they all have taunt.
Yeah.
It's
Jigglypuff
literally.
has taunt, Impidimp, Morgrem have taunt.
Wait, Tinkatuff,
Does Pawmi?
Tinkatuff, not Tinkatuff. Very sad.
Oh, Tinkatuff doesn't, even though Tinkaton does. Pawmi also doesn't. Sorry, Pawmo? They're not very visually distinctive. The middle, I think this is the middle one. I just don't remember which one is the middle one.
It's the middle one.
But it's
Almost the
like
middle.
grey instead of bright orange like the other two are, and don't really know why. They're just not very visually distinctive. I actually, I'm pretty sure this is the right one because it's the middle, like it's the grayer one. But if someone told me I'd put the wrong one on, I wouldn't believe it. Stantler is in the middle because Intimidate skill swap is very good damage disruption. However, and Goth technically also fits in this one. We have the first section here of the Trick Room setters, which are focused on around allowing your Pokemon to move first, so that makes your decision more impactful. We have Team It Me, the Rage Powder mons, which allow your big Pokemon, so your switches become more impactful because you're enabling them to do as many moves as possible, and like act unimpeded. And then we have the Priority Tailwinds, which also tend to have other decent support options, which are sometimes disruptive, sometimes like Will-O-Wisp here, Haze here, pretty disruptive, but Tailwind is the core reason I think that you're drafting both these Pokemon. So yeah, these Pokemon are all kind of insane. Stantler is incredibly bulky. What was it? Yeah, Bronzor is one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the format. Slowpoke is fairly bulky. Tinkatuff is one of the bulkiest. Is this Tinkatuff? I think this is Tinkatuff. Yes, this is Tinkatuff. It's the middle one. It's bulky because of its type.
I'm throwing something out here, but Stantler now gets a move that raises its physical defense by 1 every time it uses it. It has a 10% chance to miss, and it's only 70 base power.
Is it
Psy Shield Bash.
Oh, does it get that? I didn't think it did. It does.
I'm checking it right now.
It does have Psy Shield Bash, and yet it can evolve.
Wait, it's not obtainable yet, but yeah.
It's not obtainable yet, so it's not legal.
Yeah, I was looking at it and I was like, wait a minute. If it gets Psy Shield Bash already, why can't it evolve?
No, it says it learns it by level up. I didn't have a Stantler in game, I can't check.
No, yeah, it says here Psy Shield Bash is not obtainable without glitches or hacking.
Oh.
It's in the game, but you can't get it yet.
Yeah, I can believe the glitches are hacking. It's probably an egg move from itself. Yeah, it's an egg move from itself. That's not uncommon. There are a few Pokemon that have access to moves only as egg moves from themselves when nothing learns it by level up. For example, both of the Electroweb user lines, I don't remember what they are off the top of my head. I think it's Mareep. I think the other one might not even be Electric type, but they don't get access to Electroweb because there's no Pokemon with Electroweb to give it to them. So
it's Magnezone.
Yeah, the Magneton line. Yeah. So they don't get access to Electroweb because nothing can breed them Electroweb. But they do technically learn them as egg moves. It's the same thing with Extrasensory on Stantler, apparently. So, putting aside you just confusing us all, this one is just dumb. Like, it's very tanky. Skill Swap is really good. It's got access to Trick Room, which is really nice. One of the main things I think that it does. Helping Hand. You could theoretically ditch the Eviolite for dual screens because its 85 speed is decent enough that against a slower team it can set it up reliably. I think you'd want that into opposing Trick Room. You can run like sub Calm Mind on it. It doesn't have recovery, but its subs are difficult enough to break when you have them at -1 physical attack and you have +1 special defense. Even with its relatively frailty, the Eviolite does a lot for a fully evolved Pokemon. And it has so much coverage.
A lot of other things here. It's like Imprison with the Trick Room. You can run a lot of things with this that it really depends on your matchup. If you're fighting like a Sun team, you can run Rain Dance, Rain Team.
Or you can run Skill Swap to steal their Swiss one.
Yeah, and then just ignore them.
If you're playing a Sun team, you can run Solar Beam. I don't know what Pokemon you're hitting with Solar Beam on a Sun team, but you can run it.
There's a lot of moves that are really strong, especially in my opinion. The funniest thing that this thing gets, you were talking about Calm Mind earlier. Calm Mind with Earth Power and normal stab, it's super strong.
Its normal stab is Terra Blast.
Yeah, I know, but
right?
most
I
of
just
the
wanted to
time
check
you-
because I don't think it gets access to Hyper Voice. So
Does
I guess you could run
it?
Hyper Beam or Swift. I probably wouldn't though. It gets physical
I would
Body Slam and Double Edge. 95 attack, 85 special attack. So it's not passive. I think it's one of the standout mons. Girafarig is another standout mon. I don't know what it is about fully evolved Pokemon and being good when they get Eviolite, but you know. They're pretty good.
Girafarig's like super good in like the singles format.
Murkrow is nuts. Girafarig's banned, isn't it? Or is it suspect tested? I forget.
I'm checking. It's suspect test, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is suspect test.
Is Stantler not good?
I don't think Stantler is allowed to hold Eviolite yet with it working.
It is. It is. It works. I don't know. I think it's probably not legal in Little Cup because they don't have the Evolve mod, but Eviolite does work on it.
Okay.
All of these Pokemon can use Eviolite, if you couldn't tell by the Eviolite at the top of the screen or in the video name.
There's I think a standout Pokemon this guy's is Toedscool.
Toedscool. It has Rage Powder and Trick Room with the broken ability. Its typing is funny. We will get a little bit more into it later. But it's got Spore, which is nice. Like we're talking about with the defensive mons. Even better with the Spore mons. Both these Rage Powder mons have access to Spore, and they're both difficult to deal with. I think Foongus gets Foul Play now. I'm gonna double check that.
I'm pretty sure it always got Foul Play, I'm pretty sure.
It definitely did not get Foul Play in one of the gens. However,
I'm checking Gen 8.
because I don't think it was always a TN.
I'm checking. Hold on. Gen 8.
It's a trick record, a technical record in Gen 8. So did Foongus learn it?
No, yeah, it did. It did.
No, it did in Gen 8. It definitely did in Gen 8. I'm checking if it learned it in
previous
Gen 7.
generations. Probably not Gen
Specifically
7.
Gen 7.
Because they only really did the TR thing in Gen 8.
Yeah, well, they literally only did them in Gen 8. I don't think it learned it in Gen 7.
Probably not. But
I think Amoonguss...
they could not have to run Giga Drain and like Sludge Bomb and stuff. That's big, because this thing only gets like 55 special attack. I think the biggest thing about Foongus is that it gets 15 speed, so it pretty much outspeeds everything.
It got it with move tutors mostly.
That's cool.
Yeah, 15 speed is really strong. Girafarig Sap Sipper allows it to be a counter to them because it can absorb Sap Sipper. Except for Toedscool, because it counters that with Mycelium Might. Now that I think about it. It allows it to hard counter Foongus. It also is a psychic type, which helps. Yeah, Fletchinder is pretty good. It's access to Tailwind and Will-O-Wisp. Losing Dual Wing Beat is kind of whack for it because it appreciated being able to kill mons through Focus Sash, but it's whatever. It can run Covert Cloak, if not Eviolite, but it's honestly fairly bulky with Eviolite, especially with the Wisp up and any like screen support, but even not screen support. And Heatwave's nice, just in general. Murkrow is really dumb. You often don't like it's got a lot of items.
Murkrow's the biggest one, I think.
Murkrow's definitely the best mon here. It's the most expensive as well. I think the next most expensive was Goth and then Morgrem, and then I could not tell you.
I'm gonna list down all of the support moves that Murkrow gets. Hey.
Okay, I think that might be a bit much. Do you want to stick to just?
That's taking too long. Because that's how good it is.
Yeah, it's a lot. So Haze, Perish Song.
Murkrow can like one-shot a lot of things with Brave Bird.
It can one-shot a lot of things. Can you give me an example?
Let me see. I guess like we were talking about Meowscarada being good earlier. I guess obviously Meowscarada is really frail, and Brave Bird can just kill that.
Like uninvested Brave Bird, because I don't even know if I believe that.
If you invest enough, you can kill it with Brave Bird.
Okay.
But the biggest attacking move
is the idea that you're like Sash and then suiciding. Oh no, zero
really
attack does. Zero attack does. Just for.
You don't have to be Sash and suiciding actually. You can.
But
just,
it does have Protean, so. But there you go.
and it's like real. But again, Murkrow is like scary. I think it's Sucker Punch if you're running like weakness policy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's got 85 attack, so I don't know if I want to Sucker Punch myself with it to activate a weakness policy.
85 attack is big for an NFE.
Yes. Again, it turns out Pokemon that used to be fully evolved Pokemon are kind of good.
91 speed is fast.
It is.
Outspeeds a lot of the format. And like, you don't need to outspeed a lot of the Pokemon in the format with Tailwind. You don't even need to,
it's a very tailwind centered thing, which is why the team It Me I think are very strong. Team No You are also very disruptive, but Fake Out is worse than ever. You can play around Shadow Tag, it just does put pressure into building. Tinkatuff does not have Gigaton Hammer, but it's still pretty bulky. And Jigglypuff is funny. Counter, that was the other thing. Sash counter Jigglypuff.
Yeah.
I lost a Pokemon to that once.
Wow. Honestly, Jigglypuff
It also set rocks.
Yeah, Jigglypuff's probably one of like the most standout Pokemon in my opinion here.
It is the best Pokemon. He has Friend Guard, which is another big selling point, which I don't know if we mentioned.
We didn't mention. I don't think we mentioned
Friend
Guard.
Pulse.
Also, 115. A lot of like
it has
Eviolite
Nasty
Pokemon.
Claw broken. It has 45 special attack. Sorry, 115 what? Health?
115 HP is really good for an NFE because Eviolite doesn't boost HP, it boosts your defenses.
Yeah.
And if you have a high base HP, as we can see with Chansey, you can do like a lot of things.
Yeah,
and with
I mean,
Friend
Jigglypuff
Guard,
is one of the frailest Pokemon in this picture. But, sure.
Again,
just for
I think
context,
the main
it's
thing about Jigglypuff again is utility moves and stuff.
I personally
very
think that
happy-
Jigglypuff is one of the funniest Pokemon here, by which I mean it's not very good.
No, yeah, you can just like
It's on. I mean,
like,
look, it is decently
Jigglypuff
functionally
is
bulky.
fair.
The HP is big.
I feel like if you end up losing your team because of something Jigglypuff did, I think you're gonna have dreams about Jigglypuff after that one.
Let me find Toedscool. It's bulkier than Toedscool.
Yeah.
What other Pokemon is bulkier than Fletch? Only
I mean,
the
yeah,
baby one. It's nowhere near as bulky as Fletchinder. Is it bulkier than Pawmo?
Probably not.
No.
Pawmo's really 60, 50, 50, yeah.
Oh no, it is just bulkier than Pawmo.
Because
it's like 10
60
points bulkier than Pawmo. That's a decent bit. And it's probably bulkier than Impidimp. That one's really frail. It's a lot bulkier than Impidimp. Is it bulkier than Morgrem? No.
Yeah, Impidimp
so, you know,
45, 30, 40.
and Slowpoke is the other one I wanted to check. It is not bulkier than Slowpoke. So you know what? It is in the middle of the pack. It's bulkier. Actually, is it bulkier than Murkrow?
Probably.
It is
No,
just
probably.
bulkier than Murkrow.
Yeah, because Murkrow only gets 42 in the defenses, and that's kind of low, I guess.
Jigglypuff has 20-25.
That's very low.
Did you not? Did you?
You know,
did you not know that? It's very low. It's the
my
HP is
mind
carrying.
blank.
And Eviolite. Eviolite's really good.
My mind blank. My mind blank because I thought it had 45 in the defenses.
No, that would be a lot bulkier than Murkrow then. It'd probably be about as bulky as, you know.
You're talking about
I don't remember.
Slowpoke? You're talking about Slowpoke. This
That
thing
one's
can't get taunted. It gets Trick Room.
Yes.
It gets Eviolite.
In terms of
If
Trick Room
anyone
settings, this one is the most reliable in terms of taunt. This one is the most reliable. Sorry, I just realized I'm high. Slowpoke is most reliable in terms of taunt. Girafarig is most reliable in terms of fake out, and Stantler is the most reliable in terms of out and out pure damage. Or was it Bronzor? It was one of them. And Goth is the most
also-
reliable in terms of your opponent having annoying things. None of them are immune to Raw.
Wow. Okay. So here's the thing. I think that
Soundproof is
in
pretty
case
rare.
anyone remembers,
ability
there
this
was
year.
like this team running around in Gen 8 on the ladder where people were using Slowpoke next to Regirock because Slowpoke gets 15 base speed and it's really good at activating weakness policy.
Yes, that's
and
true.
Gets Slowpoke
I
and
just
gets
don't know what
Slowpoke.
weakness policy you really want to boost right now.
yeah, not right now, but I was just mentioning it.
because
It also gets
Quagsire
healed
is
for-
immune and also not very strong. It doesn't. I guess you could boost a Torkoal Venus policy.
Oh, Torkoals look
I
scary.
mean, it's funny. It's not very good because you do reduce the power of
Eruption.
eruption, but it does get stronger for like that's technically I think the strongest. If you combine that surf with Helping Hand, that's probably the strongest way you can get eruption. However, I think we've probably
Also,
dwelled
again,
too long on
Slowpoke's-
these particular Pokemon. We should transition.
Okay, one
to
last
this.
thing.
Okay.
One last throwaway thing.
Yep.
Slowpoke gets Slack Off.
Yes, Slowpoke does have access to recovery, however its support is, I think, better than all of the other Pokemon in the previous one. We talked about how some of them have decent support. Wide Guard's big.
Yeah.
Actually, Garganacl might... Naclstack might also have Wide Guard. Hippopotas might also have Wide... I don't remember what has Wide Guard. A bunch of Pokemon randomly have Wide Guard. I don't... I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, no late. Flamigo gets a Wide Guard?
Yeah, I know Flamigo gets Wide Guard. I drafted it round 4, and Poppin drafted it round 2.
No, yeah, the pre-evolutions of Garganacl do not get the Wide Guard.
Does Garganacl get Wide Guard?
Yes,
Okay.
but not Naclstack.
The
gets
only
Wide Guard,
NFE that's been drafted with Wide Guard is Mareanie, which means it's the best. So anyways, back to Team No U. So now we go into our final category, also known as this Pokemon was probably UUBL in some generation list. Offensive Eviolite. So these are Pokemon which can and can also just not use Eviolite and are strong.
Like, Bisharp doesn't have to
Okay,
run Eviolite.
Pawniard has never been in UUBL. Pretty sure Bisharp has. Don't think
Probably.
Gara has. I know Haunter did. That's why I said. That's why I was saying it. I think Magneton has only been. It was in OU in those gens. It's been in UU a couple times. Scyther
Again,
is.
with the thing that you were saying? You were
Wasn't
saying
it,
something earlier about fully evolved Pokemon and being really good with Eviolite.
Yeah, that's why I was saying UUBL. And then there's also like Haunter. I mean, Primeape isn't very good with.
Magneton, Primeape, Magneton, Bisharp.
I think
I think the
Diglett. I think
throwaway one
Arena Trap is banned in UU in ADV.
Yeah,
So
probably.
I'm pretty sure Diglett is UUBL. It's not the Pokemon you would have expected on this list.
Something scary that I don't think that anyone's expecting. That I think I only noticed earlier. Glimmet gets 105 special attack.
No, I noticed that. That's why it's here. It's really
Yeah,
strong.
exactly.
It's only strong. All it is strong. It's frail. It has toxic debris. It's got decent coverage. It's got 105 special attack. That is why it is here. I'm pretty sure that's why the person who drafted it drafted it. Or are you the person who drafted it?
I did not draft Glimmet.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Very-
But yeah, so I don't think only you have noticed it on account of someone else having picked it up. Glimmet's very funny. It's strong,
Stuff.
but it's kind of like middling speed. All these Pokemon are strong. That's why they are in this picture. Pikachu is strong with Light Ball. Snover is strong because Blizzard. Scyther is dumb strong with Pounce and Aerialate, though it obviously 120 base power, dueling beat, kind of strong. It's got
I
close
remember
combat.
playing against Tinkatuff in draft, not in Scarlet Violet.
There's
But
Tailwind as well, which is nice.
I ignored the Snover for a lot of the game, and then in the end game, it was my 2 Pokemon left against a full HP Snover, and the Snover lived both of the hits. They're both neutral hits.
Blizzarded.
The Snover lived both of the hits and froze both of my Pokemon Blizzard, and I lost.
Skillful players. So yeah, a few of these Pokemon do get decent support options, like we said. Previous gens, Pikachu and Fletchinder Web. This gen still does get Fake Out, but Light Ball is the main thing you're doing with it. Haunter has Icy Wind. Snover has Icy Wind. It has Aurora Veil. Snowscape
Veil,
also, not Snowscape. Snow Warning activates Snow, which makes your Ice types have +1 defense. Scyther gets Tailwind. And then you can run Bulldoze on Gabai and on Diglett. When Primeape, if coaching comes back, Primeape will most likely get it. Magneton,
Why did they remove Dual Wing Beat from Scyther? That's like a criminal move,
because
honestly.
it's not in its level up moveset. It still would be in a TM. It's just not a move shooter this gen. So they may bring it back. So like only
really
3 Pokemon I think get it.
let
Which
me
are
check.
like Kilowattrel, Salamence, and Slitherwing. No, I think there's another one. I think there's another Dueling Beam on.
Bombardier.
Bombardier, yeah. So those Pokemon get dueling beat and nothing else. I don't know why Slitherwing does. But yeah, these Pokemon are all strong. Primeape has access to Rage Fist, which is a 50 base power ghost move that adds 50 base power every time the mon gets hit. With Eviolite, you can get hit more often. You also want dual screens and also to have bulked up once. But you're 95 base speed, so you can probably get a bulk up off with behind screens. And then Rage Fist is crazy strong. It's got very good synergy Ghost and Fighting. The only Pokemon that checks Ghost and Fighting are the Hisuian, Zoroark, and Zoro, which aren't in the game. Beyond that...
We're talking about, what do you call this?
Primeape.
We're talking about Eviolite, right? And...
Yeah, it wants Eviolite and screens and bulk up, and then it will live hits.
And then Rage Fist. And here's the thing.
That's exactly what I was saying. Yes, that's what I just said.
You have to run Eviolite, right? Because it can just run Choice Scarf with close combat and nuke things.
Yes, but was talking about this in the context of Eviolite.
In the context of Eviolite, this thing's still pretty strong, I guess.
So, again, with dual screens and Eviolite, then you can bulk up and then get really strong Rage Fists. However, it's not a Pokemon that only uses Eviolite. A lot of these Pokemon have multiple options. Focus Sash Haunter is popular, but Scarf and Specs are also options. You probably always want to Focus Sash on Glimmet, but if you have Sand Up, you can probably get away with... It's got 4860 SpDef, so its bulk is actually okay, and its special bulk is actually pretty decent in Sand. So it's got functional 51, but its SpDef is pretty alright. So if you're into a team where that works out, that can work out. Pikachu, you can run like a fake out Volt Switch set, and since you're relatively fast, you might only be taking one mon. So if the main thing you want out of Pikachu in that specific matchup is its positioning, you can generally find a matchup where it will live one hit with Eviolite. Magneton is one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the format with Eviolite. That said, its typing is kind of whack, so you don't always do that. But a lot of what you get out of Eviolite on Pokemon like Bisharp, on like Gabite, on Pokemon like Haunter, is that and Scyther, is that they will be able to attack more times. You know, they will live an extra hit, sometimes 2 extra hits if something like Bisharp, and sometimes, honestly, 3 extra hits with Magneton, and that just means that there are more moves that it can click and more damage that it can do.
The biggest one in this picture, right? The biggest new one is Bisharp.
Yes, that's why I mentioned it specifically.
Yes,
it's incredibly bulky.
Super duper good with the Eviolite. Yeah. And we'll talk about it later, like you said earlier.
It's the 5th bulkiest Pokemon in the format with Eviolite.
It is? Oh.
So it goes Chansey, Corv, Tinkaton, Kingambit, and then Bisharp. It's still frailer than Kingambit, which can run an item, so it can run Citrus Berry. But
interesting.
You know, it's both fail on the physical and special side, but you know, it's still good. You know,
the only thing I really don't like about Bisharp, right?
What's sorry?
Is that okay, wait. I want to mention something about Bisharp.
Yeah, define.
Bisharp's best dark move is Sucker Punch or Night Slash, which is...
Yeah, it doesn't get Kowtow Cleave like its father does.
Father?
Kingambit.
Yeah. Called Father.
Which I assume in Japanese is a pun on Shogun, because it looks like a Shogun. And like Kowtow Cleave is, I assume, like a meta reference to how the Shogun was basically in charge of the Emperor. But I don't actually know, I just assume. Dodo Gizan. Yeah, that definitely sounds after defeating 3 Bisharp that hold a leader's crest. Random signature item, go. Kowtow Cleave, Evo move. Sorry, I'm distracting myself. Yeah, Dogeza is bowing those very much, but then Zan is to kill. So it's basically named after Kowtow Cleave. But yeah, it looks like it's a daimyo making itself Shogun. Yeah, sorry, distracted myself from Pawniard. Pawniard and Bisharp are both here. Pawniard is like a much worse Bisharp, but that's still a good Pokemon. It resists ghosts, ice, grass, and
it's a steel type.
Flying.
It's steel type.
It's immune to psychic. It resists dark. Like, steel dark is, I think, simultaneously a good and terrible type, because you lose steel's resists to fairy and bug. Bug matters a lot more in singles because of U-turn, but it's still relatively significant. You know, like this Pokemon is not getting away from a few of the things, but it's still very good. It's still very, very good.
And like, I mentioned earlier about I like drafting Eviolite Pokemon that besides them being able to have, I don't want my Eviolite Pokemon to be one-sided or like one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Bisharp is an Eviolite Pokemon that can be really scary as a offensive one because 125 physical attack high, and
Defiant.
it gets other things like
Inner focus.
Taunt, Thunder Wave.
Y'all ain't ready for the sub-pressure rest Bisharp in VGC.
Yeah, but overall, again, Bisharp is like an offensive Pokemon with support, and that's super strong.
It has Metal Sound, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does.
I think Metal Sound. I don't think it has Wide Guard, but I think it has one of the other guards.
Quick Guard.
Quick Guard. Doesn't work against Fake Out unless the Fake Out Pokemon is slower than you, but it works against E-Speed and stuff. So if you have a partner Pokemon that's frailer and you're playing against like Dragonite or one of the E-Speed spammers, the Quick Guard's pretty relevant. Does Pawniard get it too? Because that's honestly pretty nice. Yeah, it does. It also has that Manual Sand set up for Glamora, or Clement rather. Also has Guillotine, which is an Oko move, so you can just ignore the rest of the game and set up bulk on it. Does it have... So it's got Iron Defense. Does it have a way to boost its special defense?
Don't think so. I'm checking.
It doesn't seem like it.
Don't think it does. No, don't think it does. But
it is funny to run...
No, it doesn't.
It is funny to run Fisher spam. It also has Snarl, which is better on Pawniard than Bisharp, I think. Simply because Pawniard is not as strong, therefore the difference in damage is not as significant. But 85 attack is still good with Defiant. Gabite is one of the few ground types, like we mentioned with Hippopotas. It's decently fast, decently strong. Primeape is, I think, the fastest. No, I forgot Diglett and Diglett at 95. I don't think I did. Scyther at 105.
But I was thinking, you're talking about Gabite. I wanted to draft Gabite. I don't think I did.
I have it, so no, you didn't.
Yeah, there.
I got it like round 8, I think, right 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Gabite was really good in 1. I mean, it's not weak to grass, which is good because it dissuades your opponent from... I mean, I have Palafin, that's why it's good. And you have a rain team, which is why you think a ground not being weak to grass is good.
Yeah. That's why I have Camera Up, which is like the next best option.
Yeah.
It's like not weak to grass. Okay, I think Gibble's just like that desperate.
So I don't think I would put Gibble in this offensive section. Snova's funny because it has Ice Shard. You can do a really crap Dragonite with Tera Quick Attack, Tera Normal Quick Attack with Technician on Scyther. That was a funny thing I saw. Were there any other like gimmicks that you could run? You can. Does Pikachu get E-Speed in this format? Because if so, Light Ball Pikachu E-Speed is pretty strong.
Pikachu E-Speed.
Pikachu does not get Extreme Speed in this format.
No, it doesn't. If it did, though.
If it did, it'd be like honestly a pretty strong option. I think it was relatively expensive, but even then, it's good. Tera Normal Fake Out. It's not the same at all because you don't have and Quick Attack because you don't have Technician to make up for it. Light Ball makes up for base attack, not for abilities. I think it can only do either, and Pikachu's stats are not good enough that it makes up for base attack. Oh, sorry, for both of them. Oh, so how does it normally learn E-Speed? It apparently gets Fly by the Terastalization Pikachu. But yeah, I guess I don't know how it normally got E-Speed. Pikachu's funny. Fake Out strong move. Has presence. I don't know why it has presence.
Why is Pichu like relatively scary? Because it's really Pichu's just like Fake Out bot.
Yeah, Lightning Rod's good ability as well. I mean, you have Raichu, right?
Does it get Nuzzle? It gets Nuzzle, yeah. Yeah,
Nuzzle is good. It guaranteed paras. What was the other mono we didn't comment on? Diglett. Diglett traps people. Diglett gets... I'm trying to remember what it's called. Screech. Diglett's physical attack is bad, so it runs Earth Power anyways. His special attack is also bad. Diglett is just there for trapping. I think Daddy has it, and it's probably maybe going to come to team preview like twice, and it will pressure them. I don't know if it'll ever hit the field, but it does pressure. Particularly frail Pokemon, something like a Salazzle, can be really discouraged by a Scarf Diglett. Sorry, particularly frail 4X ground weak Pokemon. So Glamora, Salazzle, and I think there was another one that I'd forgotten, but like not Magnezone, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's another one. It's just not coming to mind. It's not like Aggron. Maybe I am just thinking of. Maybe I am just thinking of Nihilego. Arcanine, the Rock Arcanine is not in the game yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Oh, Iron Moth, which is not legal in this format. That was the other one I was thinking of. But it's still like good. It probably can do it to Houndoom. I'm pretty sure Houndoom's got really mediocre physical defense. Like Diglett is kind of like a tech piece, but it can be used functionally as a tech piece. It's got okay support, and it has inbuilt support by having Arena Trap.
It's fast.
Yeah, like I said, 95. Its speed ties Haunter, and I believe Primeape is also 95. So
Yeah,
it is the fastest besides Scyther on this picture. It's faster than Pikachu. It is the Pikachu counter. You guys were all asking, who counters Pikachu? Pikachu too broken. It's too good. Speaking of Pikachu broken, Eviolite and Terastalization. We each spotlighted Pokemon for each of the categories we've previously gone over about who we think is an interesting user for Terastalization. So Pikachu is an electric type, and electric types have a great offensive synergy with like every fucking type under the sun. I think people have mentioned ice type pretty frequently, but flying type is like the event Pikachu, and electric flying is pretty good. It only loses to opposing electric, which you already beat because you have Lightning Rod, and you also are immune to the electric weakness with Lightning Rod, and it makes you immune to its normal weakness of ground. Beyond that, you can really just run anything that makes sense into a matchup. There are a lot of teams that are weak to water. I think Pikachu gets Surf, but it might not get Surf in this gen. It's another thing where I'm not fully familiar with a lot of the moveset changes. It does still get Surf in this gen. Obviously you have access to Terra Blast as well. It has Grass Knot. There are a lot of different things that you can do, and Flying makes a lot of sense, and Grass makes a lot of sense just for, as well as Bug, to deal with the ground weakness. You'll probably live one hit. You probably don't want to use Eviolite on a Tera Pikachu. In terms of Pokemon, here you'd use Tera on. The Pokemon 4X weaknesses are Pawniard, Bisharp, Gabite, and Snova and Scyther are all pretty good Tera users. But Pikachu is the strongest mon there. Just ahead of Bisharp, but behind Bisharp if it has Defiant triggered. Sliggoo.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Sliggoo?
I want to talk about Sliggoo because I think Sliggoo's a very funny guy. Sliggoo being able to just like be in as someone who drafted a rain team for VBL, I did not realize until very recently that Sliggoo is a very strong. With like, it gets 3 good abilities in my opinion. All 3 of these abilities are super strong.
I don't know.
Good.
I don't think it uses Gooey as well as Goodra does.
Fair. I guess not Gooey, but mainly
so just for context, Gooey is if it gets hit with a contact move, it reduces their speed by 1 stage. It's only 60 base speed. Goodra's 80 base speed. If it was by 2 stages, I think Gooey would be good on it, but it's not.
Water, Tera Water, you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, with Sapsicker.
1 weakness to electric, and you're not only clicking an electric move into Sliggoo.
Yeah. Also,
again,
Pikachu Lightning Rod.
Yeah. Again, this thing's super bulky. It has life dew, so it can just heal itself and its teammate. It gets it doesn't have like the best coverage, but it gets the coverage that it needs. If you really want to, it gets Draco Meteor, and
if you Terra Water, you can still spam Muddy Water.
Yeah.
Even if you don't Terra Water, Draco is good, Dragon Pulse is good. It's got A3 special attack, which is not bad.
The accuracy drops big, I think. This shit becomes
absolutely
hard to when you drop the accuracy.
It is the 19th
It's like-
bulkiest Pokemon in the format, and it's 1
It's like
point.
Tapu Fini. Remember, if anyone thinks about Tapu Fini and they think about muddy water, you look at Sliggoo and think about muddy water.
Hmm.
And this thing can do a lot of damage with muddy water under the rain too.
So this Pokemon's good.
Yeah.
And Emergency Terra, Toedscool. You click that if you're going to get faked out or prankster taunted.
What's cool also just like if you're not into running Terra Ghost, there's Terra Water. Or Terra Fire.
Terra Water, Terra
Because
Fire defensively.
Yeah, those cover for its weaknesses. And again, Toedscool gets a Rage Powder Spore, its Trick Room, Taunt, gets a lot of things. If you want, you can Leech Seed on it. It gets knockoff for like other NFUs.
Yeah. And it does have 100 base special defense, which means that its bulk is not bad if you are going into it. So if you just want to focus on, okay, I don't really want a Rage Powder, I want this Pokemon to be able to stick around and do Spore, it's definitely an option. Also, there's Trick Room.
Trick Room,
good. Yeah.
But, yeah.
So it's normally weak to Flying, Bug, Ice, and Fire. Fire deals with all of those weaknesses except Flying. Water deals with all of those weaknesses except Bug and Flying, but they make neutral anyways. And becoming Electric, you normally resist Ground, so they're probably not going to Earthquake it. That said, they might Earthquake around it because they care more about hitting your partner Pokemon. Mycelium Might sucks for a Pokemon with 70 speed, but could Doodle with Grafire. I don't even know if that works the same turn or if it's like
It's
Lagging
the same
Tail.
turn.
Like, I think it's very possible that wouldn't work and you would still go last that turn. Yeah.
It's not like Lagging Tail and it works on the same turn.
But yeah,
But I'm not 100% sure in that one.
I'm not 100% sure. I think because when it's moved last in priority bracket, I think that is not currently adjusted to speed, unlike the other one that we were saying. Unlike actual speed stage changes and base speed changes definitely apply on the same turn, but I'm not sure that changes to speed based on changes that aren't to speed but are based on semi-priority bracket apply the same turn.
They probably. I'm pretty sure they don't.
Because I know Lagging Tail definitely doesn't. Check out my quarterfinals game against Daddy if you want to confirm. But beyond that, yeah, these are the kind of a glimpse of. We've talked about a lot of the Pokemon as examples. You can think about a lot of the concepts for why these Pokemon are good. Being able to live extra hits with Eviolite is always really nice, especially if you're not pressuring another Pokemon out of an item, because Assault Vest achieves a similar thing on fully evolved Pokemon, but it comes at the cost of not being able to run support moves, and it comes at the cost of not being able to run Assault Vest on other Pokemon. Often you only want to bring one NFE to a game, or you only want to bring one NFE that's likely to use Eviolite if you are using, say, a Focus Sash Haunter, or a Covert Cloak Murkrow, or whatever, with another Eviolite with Tera. Sorry, with Eviolite. Another Eviolite with Eviolite. As you can tell, I worked a long day at work today. So, do you have any last words about Eviolite and Tera, or Eviolite generally?
Eviolite's like probably one of the best items ever, and I really like how Eviolite makes it so that the super, I guess you could say, not the best Pokemon ever, they become, in a way, slightly viable, especially with what we mentioned earlier. Some non-fully evolved Pokemon end up turning into like super scary.
Alright,
that
guys.
are like you need to deal with.
So definitely think about your opposing NFEs and think about NFEs if you're looking at making transactions and you need to save on points. They definitely can take the place of fully evolved Pokemon. They just hit less hard, generally speaking, and not always true. And often the most important thing is the support that they provide. So in conclusion, I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. Oh yeah, hit a subscribe. Put some thanks to Mono Mallard down in the subscription. Putting comments in the thing is incredibly impactful for my channel. it makes videos go from getting 20 views to getting over 100. It's crazy how impactful it is. And
it's very funny.
All in all, check out the playlist that's linked. It also is good. It's me looking at other things within the frame of VBLS, and I think if you want to get an idea for how to develop your draft planning and your team building, one of the things that you really want to consider, I cover a lot of the different things you want to consider. We also consider some more meta things like how to build a tier list in draft and how to identify when to draft what Pokemon. So definitely, thank you a lot, Mono, for coming along. And I'm trying to remember, is it Pala?
What?
I forget how to. I'm trying to remember how to say bye in Tagalog.
It's like paalam.
Paalam. Paalam.
Yeah.
Paalam. So much more awkward. Then again, I did the same thing with Poppin, so.
Pawmo.
Paalam to Pawmo.